Welcome, welcome, thrice welcome to JWC Livestream. JWC Livestream with Ricky and Tom. I'm Ricky.
I'm Tom. Hey.
And he's Tom up there. This is what we call Stories at a Glance. JWC Livestream Stories at a Glance. And what we do is we do reads. But first, before we do that, it's going to be a good old check-in, good old handshake. Tom and I are both creatives. A creative is someone who is constantly creating, making, in this case, we're writers, hence the Joe's Writers Club thing. I know that's not very mysterious. We write every chance we get. We're constantly thinking about writing projects. I'm already writing like 3 books. I'm outlining another book because I got up the other night. I couldn't sleep. So outlining, right? We're straight to the hammer and anvil, putting another project together. So we're in a maelstrom, a tempest of constant inspiration and muse flashes, pursuing creativity. So as a result of that, we feel the need to go over those at the beginning of each show. It's a mark of inspiration being the highest coin in the realm. Because when you're inspired, you got nothing to worry about. You can't wait to go home and write. You can't wait to have an extra minute to write and get some episodic satisfaction. Dopamine, endorphins, all that fun stuff. Regular stuff in the world just doesn't do it for the likes of Tom and I. So we require creativity. We require that. I don't know if it's escapism, but it's, for me, it reaches into the transcendent, beyond this world, beyond normal consciousness. But I'm a goose, so what do I know? Tom, how have you been, and how's your creativity going?
Been excellent. Things are going. I just finished first draft of House of the Wolf Man. It's a between 14 and 15,000 words, probably more, but that's just an estimate. Came out really well. I was very impressed. I kept a 3x5 card of a list of all the monsters, and as I was writing, as they got bumped off, I would cross them off. I said, I got to leave a couple people living, make sort of a happy ending. So that'll be a surprise. And,
or at least not a doom-stricken, miserable ending where everybody dies.
Oh yeah, where the whole place is burning down and the camera pulls back if everybody's dead.
Plenty of doom in the world. Sometimes you want to leave a little Vaseline on the lens.
Yeah. So lots and lots of gore, attacking, and I'm hoping I've done justice to the characters. I mean, they got lots of people there. Dr. Van Helsing and various features Larry Talbot, the Wolfman, and Dracula. I'm going with the Bela Lugosi Dracula. And
what is it? Your left hand shows your past, your right hand shows your future, right? That one?
And I have Lon Chaney Jr. shows up about 4 times in the story as the Wolfman, the son of Dracula, the Mummy, and somebody else that he shows up as. So there'd be there's this weird looking at each other, sort of scratching their heads. That kind of looks familiar. And so it should be. It was a lot of fun to write. I just can't wait to really go in and add details, the smells and the sounds and the
right, the trauma. It all has to be there.
Yeah, the swampy, the smelly, the lake with the it always has the mosquitoes and the greenhouse, and all sorts of wild stuff.
Sure.
The footsteps and the shuffling and the growls and the it was. I love writing it. So I wrote away as a gentleman that he did a short story collection. It was a big hit on Kickstarter called Monsters Unleashed. It was all about the universal horror creatures, revisiting them. So I wrote to him. I said, I have this story. Can I publish it and make a profit, or is it okay? Would it be okay if I make it a freebie? If I make it a freebie, that's fine. I could use it as a calling card on my
Mm-hmm.
website. Sign up here and you could get House of the Wolfman for free. That kind of, uh, you know,
Yeah, yeah, right
I
on, right
I
on.
know somebody was in publishing that was working when in the '80s they did a whole slew of Universal Horror paperbacks where they did paperbacks for the original screenplays, and they revisited the creatures, et cetera, et cetera. He said that Universal is very tight, has a very tight grip on their intellectual property, and they might not let me make any money from it, but they'd probably be okay if I give it away, because it's quote unquote say fan fiction. Uh,
Yeah,
so
well, I mean, you can't necessarily blame them. I mean, circling the wagons around IP. I mean, I don't know when that thing's going to pass into the public domain. The Universal monsters, but all they have to do is reboot it, and then they'll seize it again. Like
right,
if they ever reboot, and I heard tell like 10 years ago they were going to reboot it. So once they get frazzled enough and this superhero thing dies down a little bit, they might end up doing that, because who wouldn't want to see a reconception of that?
true.
Um, yeah, that's why I mean you're really good at weaving horror. You're really good at dealing with those characters and the mode of those stories. Like your voice is perfect for that. So
Yeah. So
um, go ahead.
I was thinking that toward the middle of the '40s, I did the House of Frankenstein, where they brought all the monsters in, the House of Dracula, and they were starting to run out of gas by then for story ideas. So my idea was just to do a brand new story, bring as many characters as I can, and make it really interesting, really exciting, and in basically one location where the son of the Invisible Man is trying to work on a cure for the Wolf Man, and thinks he's got an idea, and he's got one more shot, and Larry Talbot will be no longer be aware of a Wolf Man. The night he's going to get his shot is when everything goes to hell. So
That's wonderful luck. Wonderful luck for
yeah,
him. I'm
so
sure
it's
sure he's clicking his heels like he's on his way to Oz after that.
hmm,
Okay, so you got a lot of irons in the fire as usual. Um I was working on Z Nowhere, which is a sci-fi novella about a guy who lives on an asteroid who's got all these problems, and he's basically like a security guy who runs security for the Ultra City, the very, very ultra rich people, but he also makes a lot of money on the side. And he went in with this woman who lives in the jungle, and he loves her, and she's trying to get him to use his power to help her check the human traffickers that are like ravaging the people. And there's a lot of really, really cool stuff that goes on in this book. I'm looking, it's not Babbletron voice, but it's a couple levels down as far as pace and violence compared to Babbletron. I was working on Journey to the Mountain as well, but I put those aside because I've been editing my chapters of Anthonyum, that collaboration with David Anderson, and that's been going well, which is cool. And I got this new book, man, Doomfield. I was working about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, with someone concerning writing a sci-fi, like a spaceship sci-fi story, and making it satirical and somewhat humorous. I don't mean like Orville or like Red Dwarf or anything like that. Like less funny, still more adventure, less funny. I'm not
hmm,
knocking those properties because they're pretty cool, but I'm trying to do something very, very specific here. And I'm getting characters and outlining, and just I couldn't. I woke up at 3:15 the other morning, and it was just like 2 hours were spent outlining, just getting characters, because I was like, I'm just gonna just lay here till dawn if I don't get it done. That's why I say creative obsession, folks. When I say that, I'm not whistling Dixie. Because it's like sometimes you just got to get out. And Tom, you got a little gremlin sometimes that's nagging you all day at work, hey, Tom, when are you gonna go and you're gonna write? And so you're thinking all that time, oh, I can't wait to get home, or tomorrow morning, or whatever it is. So we're all in the same fix, which, as far as I'm concerned, is great. Um, so yeah, that's what's going on. A lot of irons in the fire. We're creatives, folks. We're creative. In my case, I'm a creative obsessor, and all those stories, all that stuff. It's just there's never enough time in the day, you know.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so now that we've checked in, we've recommitted to creativity, and we're trying to inspire you, folks. We're not bragging. This is like, if you feel like this, great. You're not alone. If you want to feel like this, just let it loose. Think about all day long when you have moments of distraction. Think about your creative side, your projects, stories you like. The more time you devote to unconsciousness, the more it will reward you. So today's show is a read. And Tom, do you have anything to read today?
I do. I
So
have a. Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I have a piece sort of inspired with a television show I like. It's called The Holzer Files, about
Mm,
from a group of investigators looking into old hauntings, right? So
mm,
this is sort of a, a tribute to that. So it's called Unfinished Concerns. All
right
right.
on.
So the worst time for anyone to call Callahan was before he ate lunch. The second worst time was in the summer. The call came at lunchtime on the second Wednesday in June. Is this Jerry Callahan? Asked the woman on the phone. Yes, can I help you? My name is Melissa Masterson. I'm the current owner of Worthington House in Omaha. How can I help you, Mrs. Masterson? Your help? You help people with ghost troubles, is that right? I've never heard it put that way, but yes, we investigate places that are said to be haunted. We've been living here for about 4 years now. This spring, we began to hear voices when it was just the two of us in the house. The two of you meaning who else? My husband, Wyatt. I see. Were these voices clearly heard? Yes, and there's more. We've seen two young women lying on the floor of our living room when we come in from the kitchen. How often does this happen? At least once, maybe twice a week. We have some photos. You do. Could you send them to me? Yes. We're almost there, said Jerry as they turned off the highway. Mrs. Masterson said it was visible right off the highway, said Doug Morley. There. He pointed straight ahead of him. Jerry nodded. Moira, we're here. Moira Evanston roused herself from her uncomfortable nap. She had not been told about the Worthington house or its history. As a spirit medium, she preferred to enter a place with no information about it. Jerry agreed that this was the best way to give her the most unbiased information. It's about time, she said. God, I hate planes. Can we drive back? We'll see, said Jerry. After the introductions outside, Jerry took Moira into the house. No one else was in the place as they stepped inside. Moira wrapped her arms around herself. I feel cold, very cold. She stepped into the living room and stopped in her tracks. I see blood and violence being committed upon these women, rape and torture. It's ugly. She dropped to her knees. Jerry caught her and moved her to a chair. You okay? Moira nodded. I have to keep my guard up, but I'll be all right. I see these women lying on the floor in chains, unclothed, scared. Let's move somewhere else. They moved to the kitchen, where Moira could relax. Jerry went outside to get Doug and Melissa. There's a powerful presence here, said Jerry. Moira's account matches what you've told me, Mrs. Masterson. Call me Melissa. Okay, you rent this place from the Westmillers, is that it? Yes, that's right. Did they mention anything about this house being haunted, or that things happen that can't be explained? No, nothing. They went out of their way not to talk about the house. I see. Well, we'll talk inside later. Where are the places where you've seen the most activity? Here in the living room, on the the park, and down in the basement. Tell me what you saw and heard, said Moira, her eyes filled with awareness. I heard women running up the flight of stairs in fright. The parlor always has the sound of running water and laughter. She paused and wiped her eyes. Take your time, said Jerry. Melissa nodded. The basement is where the shadows come and go all the time. I have I have a hard time doing the hard laundry. I see people moving behind me out of the corner of my eye. When I look, no one is there. Is that the busiest part of the house as far as seeing things? Asked Jerry. Yes, but the parlor is where I hear the most stuff going on. But you don't see anything there. No. What about the living room? Screaming, moaning, choking sounds. Women lying on the ground, not moving. Wow. Well, we'd like to thank you for your time. Maybe come back later tonight and do a more thorough investigation. Please, if you can help get rid of the noises, you can stay all week. That night, after all of the equipment had been set up, Jerry and Moira sat down in the living room. Jerry saw that Moira was uneasy. We can do this somewhere else, said Jerry. No, I'll be fine. Let's see what we have. Be careful, said Jerry. Moira tilted her head back. He's not happy here. His way to the other side is blocked by something. Jerry Callahan sat in his seat in the parlor of the Worthington house. The instruments were lit up. Something appeared in the room, and it wasn't making their presence well at all. What does he mean? What does he want? Moira shook all over and opened her eyes. He's gone. She looked drained. Who was it? Do you know? No, I get a feeling that someone once did an unspeakable deed, but I got no specifics. Can we come back tomorrow? Sure. Jerry and his aide packed up all the detection equipment as Moira went downstairs to have a smoke outside. That was rough, said Doug Sheridan, the aide in the investigation. There wasn't any mention of a male entity in any of the histories of the house. No, and that's a problem. Moira hasn't picked up any of the entity that the owners have claimed to see. She's usually on top of these things. Maybe we should go talk to Mr. and Mrs. Westmuller. Yeah, let's take Moira back to the hotel first. That session was rough on her. The Westmullers sat at the table with Jerry Callahan. Callahan, a bear of a man, towered over the couple, even when seated. Artie Westmuller, a wisp of a man, bit his nails as he waited for Jerry to get his notepad out. Mary Westmuller was not much more significant, fidgeted with her makeup in a compact mirror. Mr. Westmuller, do you recall what you experienced in the Worthington house while you lived there? Sure, there were noises and shadows, said Mary. Yeah, shadows. Lots of shadows. And we've seen a woman and 2 teen girls running across the living room. Did you, either of you, hear any voices? Oh, all the time, said Mary. Little children, 2 girls, I think, in the second-floor bedroom by the study. And a woman always sighed in the kitchen. She wept and cried something awful in the basement, said Mary. Okay, said Jerry. It says here that the house was built in 1854 by George Worthington. He was a slave owner, right? That's right, said Artie. He kept women slaves in the main house as sex slaves. Killed some of them, beat most of them. That could create a lot of psychic rage, said Jerry. Have you ever heard of any male voices or ghosts? No, never. How about you, dear? I never heard nothing. It's funny how it's only women. It happens, said Jerry. Take a listen to this. He turned on the digital recorder. For a few seconds, there came a hissing sound, and then they all heard the voice. Things are not finished. That's a guy's voice, said Mary. What does it mean? No idea, said Jerry. Did anything happen in the house while you were growing up, Artie? Why ask me, said Artie, sitting up and turning red. I've got nothing to hide. I'm sure you don't, said Jerry. I'm concerned now with more recent events that happened in the house. If there's nothing, we can move on. There's your brother, Artie. He has nothing to do with any of this. What happened? It's nothing, said Artie. Bill was killed in the house, said Mary. Why did you have to say that, said Artie. Tears began to run down his face. He died, that's all. How did it happen? He drowned. I was watching him play in the tub. There was a crash downstairs. I told Bill to get out of the tub, and I went to see. Artie paused to wipe his eyes. He blew his nose. What happened then? Bill didn't get out of the tub. He hit his head on the edge and fell in. By the time I got back, he was gone. I'm sorry to hear that, said Jerry. Well, now you know, and I'd like you to forget it. If you like, said Jerry. No, I want you to forget it, or else you can get out and not come back. You have my word, said Jerry. I won't mention it again. Good. I hate this house. I only come back here because you asked Mary to help you. The next night, Jerry took Artie into the main house. Moira and Doug were already waiting. They all entered the house and set up for the night. At the big dining room table were all the laptops. Doug held the EVP recorder and a small digital camera. All right, we'll split up and cover the master bedroom and the basement, said Jerry. Artie, could you accompany Doug to the basement? Sure, said Artie. The cameras are all there from last night, said Doug. I'll make sure they've got new batteries. Come on, Mr. Westmuller. Moira, we can do some automatic writing in the bedroom. Do you feel up to it? Oh, yeah, she said. Just keep me away from the parlor and I'll be all right. We'll be on the other side of the house. Good, let's go. They made their way upstairs. As they walked, Moira looked in all directions. There's someone here. More than one. A young woman is lying on the ground. She's in pain, bleeding. What about the other one? Jerry asked as they paused on the stairs. He held Moira by the arm as she wavered back and forth. He's angry, very angry. He's talking to me. She moved to the top of the stairs. Something is keeping him here. I'm not getting any more. Just a disapproval or need to finish something. She shook her head and continued on to the parlor. Are you sure this is a good idea? There is more to this room, said Moira. She looked at Jerry. This hasn't always been a parlor. She moved to the closet at the far end of the room. Her hands gripped the handles, and she paused. It's in here. The doors were locked. Jerry looked closer and saw that they were jammed closed. Not locked. Let me try. Moira stepped away as Jerry positioned his mass at the doors. He shoved hard into the barrier. It gave under his strain and popped open. Jerry pulled the doors open and looked in. Pipes? She looked at him. Water pipes. This was a bathroom once. A master bathroom. See there? The vanity is still here. It's missing the mirror. Jerry looked around. The master bedroom is through here, he said, pointing to the entrance to his left. Do you get anything about these pipes? Moira placed a veined hand on the thickest pipe. She gasped and dropped her to her knees. Water running. A scream. That way. She pointed toward the hallway. Someone in trouble here. Needs help. She let go of the pipe and sat down. Are you all right? Moira nodded. Someone drowned here. There's a male presence. Jerry helped her. Artie's brother Bill did drown here when they were kids. That would explain the anger and the fright. The boy is still scared. He needs to be assured that he'll be safe passing on. Maybe we should have a session in here with all of us, including Artie. Moira nodded. That could help Bill. I'll get him. Sit down for a while until we get back. Thanks. She sat down into a chair and rubbed her temples. Jerry moved down the stairs, listening for any sounds. He held the digital recorder up, ready for any signs. Are you able to move on from here? Is there something you need to do that is holding you back? Can you give me an answer before we move on to our next phase of investigation? The recorder squealed and sparkled, but he heard nothing tangible. Doug and Artie were sitting in the chairs in the center of the basement. Artie looked shaken. We heard chains and bottles being broken, said Doug. He pointed toward a window. A shadow came into the room from the window. It looked like a bat. Did the cameras pick it up? Yes, I think so. Doug moved to one of the digital cameras facing the window. He rewound the footage and opened a small view screen. Take a look. Jerry watched in fascination as the screen revealed a bat-like shape coming in through the window. Wow, this is good. The faint light flew around the room and between the shocked men. Artie covered his eyes as the bat flew at the wall and disappeared. Pretty solid stuff, said Doug. Yeah, we're going to have a session upstairs in the parlor for all of us. I don't know if I want to go back in there, said Artie. Is there any reason why? No, just bad memories. My folks fought a lot in that room. It wasn't fun. We won't be there very long. If you'll just help us this once, said Jerry. Artie stared at the floor, breathing hard. He nodded. Okay, this one time. This place is starting to get to me. Okay. We'll and the South sat in the center of the room. Their recorders, laptops, and cameras sat positioned at the table and around them to record everything. Jerry had the lights brought down until only a single candle gave off any light. The candle sat dead center on the table. The four people occupied one side of the table each, with Doug's back to the door. Jerry sat to his right, facing Artie. All right, the machines are running, said Jerry. We can begin. Moira, reach out to whoever is here with us. Moira nodded. She closed her eyes. If anyone is here, we come in peace. We simply want to talk to you. We want to ease your pain. The candle flickered in the still air. The flame grew to a tall, thin pillar of fire. It began to swirl like a small tornado as it settled back into the candle holder. A single white orb of light seeped from the closet where the pipe sat. It rose to the ceiling, clinging to it. As Jerry watched, it began to roll along the top, flattening as it moved. When it hit the wall, it began to move down. It resembled a seat cushion, round and flattened. With slow, erratic progress, it slid above Jerry's head. As it reached Artie, it pulsated and dispersed like a shower of firework sparks. All became deathly quiet for several minutes. Then the candle went out. In the darkness, Jerry began to get nervous. Everybody stay still, he began. Let's get our eyes used to the dark before we do anything. Okay, said Moira. Doug, how are you doing? Fine, said Doug. I'm used to sitting in dark places. That's the best way to get results on recorders. How are you doing, Mr. Westmuller? Artie didn't say anything for a moment. Then he began to make choking noises. Get the lights on, quick, said Jerry as he rushed over to where Artie sat. The lights came on, and Jerry almost stopped in his tracks. Artie sat in his chair, clawing at something covering his head. At first, Jerry thought it was a pillow. As he reached it, he found a mass of white mist instead. Water covered the floor and the table where Artie sat. Rivulets of water dripped from his arms and the chair as the man pulled at the murky haze covering his head. Artie, can you hear me? Said Jerry. Artie grabbed Jerry's hand. Help! It's grab. Artie's words were lost in a gurgling sound. Moira reached into the covering and touched Artie's face. He stiffened and began to sway. He's drowning. Water is pouring into his mouth, and I can't stop it. Someone is here at his face. He swept away from Artie and was flung into the wall. She slid down it and lay still. Jerry pulled Artie from the chair, but it was no use. Artie went limp in his arms. Both Jerry and Artie's clothes were soaked to the skin. As Jerry eased Artie to the floor, the mist dissipated and vanished. Water ran from Artie's mouth onto the floor. He's dead, said Jerry, as he sat down next to Artie. Doug knelt at Moira's side. She sat up and rubbed the back of her head. Look, she said, pointing to the table. As they watched, the water on the table and the floor gathered into a swirling mass. It spun faster until it winked out of sight with a loud pop. Jerry stood and felt the table and floor. It's as dry as a bone, he said. They gathered all their equipment downstairs to the ground floor. As the group awaited the ambulance and the police, Doug began to listen to their recordings. At one point, he stopped and looked at Jerry. I found something awful. Let's hear it before the cops come, said Jerry. This is what I got when I was coming down to get you and Artie, he said. Doug played what he had recorded earlier in the evening. The laptop hissed, and then a distinct voice came through. I move on. Artie is done. He must answer for ending me. So,
Well,
kind of a revenge of a ghost, sort of, right?
yeah, I really dug that one. As far as ghost hunters are concerned and mediumship and all that, you really nailed it. You got a laundry list of manifestations and industrial practices that file in there. The voice, as far as description and stuff, is great. You know, the veiny hand and just the dimensionalizing of the rooms, the going back and forth, the pacing. And I like in particular the entity manifested like a little bit like a hydrogeist, like that hydrogeist case that was in the UK, where there was just like water pouring and no one really knew. And the water would be there obnoxiously dumping on them while they're trying to eat dinner. And then people would come to check it out and there would be no water. It would just be gone. And there was no, either way, when they eventually got the investigation in hand, there was no explanation for the water. So it was almost like it was coming out of nowhere. And you have that where it gathers and then there's this, and there's like a pop, like a implosion where it's all being pulled back to where it came from. Really nicely done, Tom, especially the pacing. There's all sorts of ghoulish atmospherics with the lights going on and off, the darkness, and the way that you express the fear through the dialogue and stuff, especially the oppression of the medium. Real classy stuff, man. I'm impressed. That's a lesson in horror, folks. And as far as that's concerned, what was the inspiration to this story,
Well,
Tom?
like I said, it was the Holzer files mainly because it's a big guy and a technician and a woman who's a spirit medium, and
Hmm.
I didn't want to say it was them, but it was sort of there's all these groups out there. There's always a man and a woman that do the investigations on History Channel and Discover Channel and Travel. I said, on the television shows, things always go pretty well. Once in a while someone gets smacked or hurt or yelled at or scared. I said, what if we get an investigation where something goes wrong? You know,
Yeah, I
and
mean, sure. There's plenty of that on YouTube, and sometimes on YouTube things do go wrong. Especially it seems in the Japanese ghost hunting. There's almost always something that befalls them. Like they got to either run or somebody gets possessed, and you don't really know what is and what isn't. A lot of people will just dismiss it, but some of the acting is, if it is acting, some of the acting is very, very persuasive.
yeah. So I
Um,
thought I'm just wondering at the end how Jerry feels because if Jerry hadn't stepped in the house and said, "Come on, Artie, let's go," Artie probably would be okay. You know,
well, but
and you
again,
don't know, you never know these things.
this is a question between is there free will or is this fate? And it seems like this is a manifestation of something that the cosmos needed to resolve.
Hmm.
That
Right.
spirit needed, in order for that spirit to transcend, there had to be something that happened in destiny. Like that person had, it's like it says at the end, and that's a good touch, by the way. Very, very ominous. He must pay to that end. And in other words, where is he paying? It makes you think, where did he go that he's paying? Who took him where? And the fact that the spirit vanishes. Uh, what draft is that story?
First draft only. I mean, I've got there's stuff I noticed as I was reading it. I said I got to fix these things. Doug has two last names, for instance. But,
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. I mean, for a sweep for continuity. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, once that's all cleaned up, I can't really think of anything other than because there's so much mood there already.
hmm,
But maybe like they pause and they look into the room and there's this shocking emptiness in the room or a foul smell but that's just like it's more accessory than it is necessity.
right.
Like you already have it pretty tight, pretty well laid out there.
The only thing I was
uh
thinking of adding was after before they hear the recording, they had the woman. She's in the room and she says, "I don't sense anything now. He's gone." Right, that kind of
Yeah, for
thing.
closure. Yeah, for closure. But then again, maybe it's better mystified. Maybe it's better that we don't know. The only thing I could say is if you want to empower her mediumship to give her that conclusion, then that would empower her. Like if you do you ever another question would be, do you ever plan on writing in this mode again? Like, is this a one-off or is this like something you're gonna do? Because it came off really good, Tom. I'm not gonna lie.
That it was. This was an experiment
Mm-hmm.
to see if I could write in this kind of you know this mode, the ghost hunting mode.
Yeah. Yep.
Who knows? I'll put it on the shelf for now, and then say if another Jerry adventure comes along. I mean, I've got so many potential series that I could work on. I don't know if I should start another one, right? So
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. I mean, I have outlines going into 2029. I mean, if I could write full time, maybe I'll get to it all. But it's you know how that score. I mean, there's just
yeah,
never
oh yeah,
enough time in the day. Well, folks, I hope you had a nice little sampling of some ghoulishness there, some ghost hunting, some violence, and a great voice by Tom. But like always, when you're talking creativity or something like that, time flies when you're having fun. Tom, why don't you lay some plugs on us, man?
okay. On Amazon, Kindle, and ebook and hardcover, I have two collections. um, Dwellers in the Shadows, and the second one is called, went right out of my, Is It Still Out There? And
Yep.
it's gotten some pretty good reviews so far. And I have a Amazon Vela serial that I'm working on. It's 38 chapters in. It's called Thieves, Dragons, and O'Hara, and that's also gotten some pretty good reviews. So
Right on.
so far so good.
Yep. Head over to joeswritersclub.com, folks. Sign up at joeswriters.club. Check out our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know the drill. And most importantly, head over to our YouTube channel, JWC Livestream. Please like and subscribe and share to any who you think would like the content. We do a lot of different stuff on Tuesdays. We have reads twice a week, or at least once a week when it comes to that. Now we're constantly tweaking our content to bring the better part of creativity to you. As far as my plugs are concerned, please head over to Amazon and check out Nidhogg Chronicles, Crusade of Shadows. That's Nidhogg Chronicles, Crusade of Shadows by Richard Andrew Olkis, a paranormal fiction book that I've been reading on Mondays, and we're probably going to be doing those reads for quite a while. I really dig that book, and I'd like you to check it out if you like paranormal fiction. You'll definitely dig on that one. And check us out at Joe's Writers Club. You know, we're trying to help people with their creativity. We can't make you become a better writer. You have to do that yourself. You have to put the work in, and you have to have the passion. You have to have the obsession, the discipline, whatever word you want to, whatever word gloves your disposition better. But Joe's Writers Club can help you become a different writer if you listen to us. A lot of us write some weird stuff, some different stuff. And sometimes a little difference makes all the difference as far as your creative edge is concerned. So stay creative, folks. Give yourself a little time each day to write something, a poem, a bit of a story, an outline for a book. The rewards are immense and the satisfaction is constant. I'd like to thank Tom for being on the show today and for reading that story. That was really cool.
My pleasure.
And yeah, thanks, man. And we'll see you again real soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Stay creative.